Hey everyone, welcome to this podcast called Ken Reads, where I can read out your letter that you've shared with me in the hopes that I can better help you understand what the F just happened between you and the last partner you were dating, whether it was in a relationship or a situationship. I look at these experiences from the lens of attachment theory. I don't just come up with thought terminating cliches like, they're just not that into you, or if they wanted to, they would. While some of those phrases might have their benefit in other dynamics, I try and look at this from the lens of, is there perhaps an insecure attachment issue that's at play in these particular dynamics? And though I am an Australian counsellor, I am not someone who is going to be responding to these letters as if I was with a client. I'm here to provide validation, yes, but I can't provide any diagnoses on these. So even if, a lot of people might understandably hear this and be like, well, that sounds like a narcissist. At best, I'll probably say, sounds a bit narky. I probably won't go any further than that out of respect to my ethical boundaries in regards to what I can and can't do. If you find this of benefit to you, fantastic. That's what I want. And if you want to submit your letter, you're very welcome to once there is obviously availability per month. And I'll happily read out and share my own 2 cents as to what I think has gone on in your dating experience to offer you a sense of validation for what you've been through and also to give other people listening a chance to feel like maybe this relates to what they've also experienced as part of collective healing. So, with that all out of the way, let's dive in to the latest letter. The next letter comes from Francis, and Francis writes, I met this girl through a mutual friend who had been telling both of us for a while that we would hit it off. From the start, she was open about the fact that she was in a very confused and difficult moment in her life, that her last relationship left her in pieces, that she felt everything would be taken from her. Still, she really wanted to give it a go with me, and we did. Our first few dates were intense, filled with deep conversations about our past wounds, our emotional states, and the ways we had hurt and been hurt before. We were opening up in ways that felt rare, even to both of us. In the first 2 weeks, we went on 4 dates, which was unusual for both of us. At one point, I told her I was really enjoying spending time with her. She told me she felt the same and then asked if I was seeing other people very seriously. I told her that I had some casual things, but hadn't been seeing anyone for a while. She replied the same. After that, she started showing that she was really into me. Some of these examples were she was at a party and texted that she wanted to be with me, but she didn't know if she could say that. She wanted a hint of how I felt. Another time, she was near my home and asked if she could come by to see me. She told me she was doing things with me that she'd only done with boyfriends, going to lunch, spending the afternoon in a park, and that we were a great match. Throughout, I kept reinforcing that I wanted to be with her and that I was open to talking about my feelings. When she came to my home, she looked like a frightened little thing, pulled me into a tight hug, and told me she'd missed me. Oh, deja vu. And then she asked the question, how do you feel? I told her I was falling in love with her and that this was a vulnerable moment for me too, because in past relationships there was a point where people started pulling away. I asked if she thought her current state in life would prevent her from opening up to a real romance. She told me that she thought it could prevent her, but now she didn't think that was going to be a problem between the two of us. I asked her how she felt. She said she adored me, that she adored everything about me, that I was amazing, that she wanted to exhibit me to the world, but also that she was really, really scared and wanted to go slow. Okay, let's take a pause here to talk about all this. So, Francis, um, I like the fact that both of you have been quite open with each other in terms of where you're at, because you both sound like the walking wounded. You've been through some stuff from the sounds of it. You've been through some past relationships where, in your case, you've had people pull away after you've declared love. You're probably going into this a bit wobbly and shaky, being like, like, I like this person. I can tell I have feelings for her, but I don't know if I'm ready to just say those words in case this goes south. But I like the fact that you're communicating as you're doing this. You're not just withholding this information from her. You're being very clear about, look, this is what I've experienced. This is how I'm feeling about things where I'm at right now. And I feel like I feel like she's testing you a bit. what I mean by this is, I feel like she's looking for evidence that you're not going to leave her, but she's wanting you to speak up first, so that way she can also, I feel, safe to confess her feelings. Like, I feel like rather than say, hey, I need to let you know, I have strong feelings for you, she is wanting you to confess your feelings first before she does, so that way she feels safe to do that. Now, I want to make it very clear. I understand that a lot of people in past relationships have been hurt and they may want to guarantee that the person's into them. We know historically that men traditionally lean more avoidant in their attachment style, therefore are more likely to be the ones to pull away when words of love and commitment are on the table. However, there is something about this woman's presentation which feels like she wants Frances to lead and give her the permission to basically say, oh, yeah, yeah, I also really love you too. And when she goes to hug you in that really vulnerable moment, oh, sorry, I don't know if that was the vulnerable moment, but like when she goes to hug you really closely and tell you how much she adores you, but she's really scared, I really feel that that's the sort of behavior and language of a very, very scared little girl who is afraid to be fully vulnerable and is still deeply hurt and traumatized. So even though she's saying a lot of stuff that sounds vulnerable, she's likely feeling a lot of genuine feelings for you. I think it's laced with fear, trepidation, and I think she's also coming at you very strong and intensely, likely because she's never really had probably a container for love before. But at the same time, I don't think her system is ready for love. So that's what I'm getting one paragraph in. Let's continue. Oh, gosh, I must, like, I swear to God, I must be a prophet. First sentence of the next paragraph. But then she started to retreat. Wow. Um, yeah, well, that makes sense because I could already sense the inner conflict, so it seems like the fear was running out. What a surprise. This was slow at first. I know, oh, sorry, when I noticed it, I brought it up. I got to give you credit, Francis. You're very good at, just being on the money with your emotions and also bringing it to your partner's awareness too. Proud of you for this. I brought it up with her and she confirmed it, and she was pulling away but didn't know why. Interesting. That's not really helpful. I told her that we'd built up to this moment, and she'd invited me to jump into the water with her, but it felt like I jumped alone. She'd agreed. In her own words, quote unquote, I wrapped myself in bubble wrap and didn't jump. Yeah, what a beautiful way that she's described that. I got to give her credit where it's due. Many avoidant attachers wouldn't probably even admit to that. So I'll give her credit where it's due. She's leaning fearful avoidant to me for sure, but I'm not getting that nasty defensiveness we'd see in the dismissive leaning fearfuls yet. But I like the fact that she was honest enough to say, yeah, I guarded myself and didn't allow myself to really fully invest. So good on her. I'll give her brownie points for that. Like, that's actually really good of her that she said that. She told me that this was new to her, being this comfortable with someone this soon, not needing to keep her makeup on, and I'm assuming that's literal makeup, and that what really worked for her was her desire. Sorry. Oh, and that what really worked for her was a desire for hot and cold behavior that kept her hooked. Um, and she also said that I read her like a book, that I was good at communicating my feelings, that I didn't play games, and that I was a quote unquote different man. This suggests to me that she's used to dating people who are probably both avoidant and also not very good for her. And again, it goes to show that avoidance can date avoidance, and it's not exactly a fun experience for people who are on that side of the street. But it does seem to me she's not used to more grounded individuals who are more stable. And she herself has definitely got some strong avoidant parts of her as well, too. But yeah, again, even though she's pulled away at this point in time, whilst obviously I don't think you wrote this letter because the two of you were together happily ever after, and if you are, that'll be a shock to me. And it'll be a pleasant shock. I want to give you credit, Francis, at the moment for just saying, I feel like you have, I feel like you're both handling this very well, given the context. You both have obviously come from backgrounds that have been quite difficult, not just in terms of romantic relationships, but imagine family as well. So the fact that you've actually both been able to discuss this speed bump where she started to pull away after being very open and honest with her feelings for you suggests to me that at the very least, you both are more advanced in terms of self-awareness, communication, and boundary setting. So that's impressive in and of itself. Anyways, let's continue. This was week 4. Oh, God. Okay. If this was only week 4, yeah, this has been way too fast, in my opinion. But I mean, that's quite consistent with a lot of the letter readings we get. Right before the holidays, we couldn't see each other for 2 weeks. Throughout the following month, she constantly doubted me and my feelings. She would say things like, "Don't play with my heart. Don't give me false hope. I don't believe you really like me. Why should I ask for care and love if you're going to leave me? I think you're going to realize that you just want to be my friend and you're going to leave me." And every time I backed up my words, I gave her reassurance. But the morning she left for the holidays, she was distant, cold, and after an amazing night we had together, she started to pull away and the moment felt off. About 5 minutes after leaving, she flooded my phone with messages about how she didn't know why she acted like that and that she felt awful about it, that this was new to her, that our night was amazing. She couldn't even think about it straight, and that the time apart would help her get organized. But while she was away, she became even more distant. Later, I learned that her quote unquote mindfuck ex came back strong after her this week. When I told her I would be going camping for a week without my phone to help me clear my head, she suddenly mentioned that she might go for a day to the same place. I told her I'd love that, and then out of nowhere, she pulled back again and she said, "If you wanted to hook up with someone there, I'd be blocking you, right? I better not go." The timing was weird, to say the least, but then she missed me and asked me for quote unquote a virtual lap, something she did often. Okay. So much for praising, her self-awareness. Okay, I'll give her credit where it's due for the first, like I said, road bump that occurred. However, she's really gone into some catastrophizing here that is a hallmark of the anxious side of her fearful avoidance, and then she goes into some dismissive stuff as well too. So God, it's so common for fearful avoidance when they're navigating long distance, and sometimes when you say, "Hey, I'm just taking some space," to catastrophize and say things like, "Oh, well, I guess you'd be better off with someone else, wouldn't you?" They don't mean what they say. They're just self-sabotaging in this particular moment because they're so worried you're going to leave them and you're going to find someone new to be with. And they really, 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 really freak out at the idea of what that distance is going to bring to both of you. She's clearly been cheated on or had some people betray her. But I think what's really interesting to me is the fact that she continues to recognize how even the night before she left, she was acting badly at one point before, sorry, after everything was really great. And then she realizes, wait, I was horrible to you. I'm so sorry. So she's clearly experiencing these big mood swings across this experience. And obviously, Francis, from what I'm reading, you haven't done anything to elicit this. You haven't been abusive towards her. You haven't done anything that's hurt her. What's really fascinating to me is how she's clearly catastrophized in her head about where this is all going to go, saying things like, "Don't give me false hope. You know, we're not going to see each other for 2 weeks. Don't play with my heart." I feel like she's allowing her catastrophic thinking, her black and white thinking too, and also her fear of this not working out get in the way of her. And I think that she's letting her anxiety run the show in not just the anxious side of it, meaning the fear of abandonment. I also think too in the avoidance side of it, in that she just doesn't want to let people in. So she's really oscillating between these big extremes right now. This is classic fearful avoidant. And I gotta say, we are starting to get a little bit closer to dismissive leaning fearful avoidant. I feel like she's only a few behavioral traits away from, starting to make it seem like Francis, you are the problem. You're the one who's making me feel this way. Like, if she blocks you after all of this because she doesn't like feeling so shitty about herself, I'll be like, yeah, this is hallmark dismissive, leaning, fearful, avoidant. But for now, it appears that things are definitely not off to a great start after a month in. Also, her quote unquote mindfuck ex came back after her this week. I speculate whether she elicited that just to make herself feel better. So, meaning that when she was apart from Francis, she reached out to this guy in order to have some psychological comfort. Because we know that fearful avoidants tend to have a lot of separation anxiety. So, they like to have people are in their circle who they know they can turn to in case things go wrong in order to protect themselves from feeling hurt, heartbroken, and devastated. So I wonder if that was what was going on, or coincidentally, did an avoidant ex just happen to be around at that time of the month? Because sometimes that happens as well too. So yeah, but already this is not good behavior. I don't imagine that that was just a coincidence. And even if it was, the fact that she's still engaging with this guy suggests that she has got unfinished business that might be preventing herself from being more committed to a proper partner as well too. So yeah, this is already very interesting stuff. When we got back, oh, actually, before I talk about this next thing, I wanted to talk about the pulling away when she said she wanted to go camping with you. I get the impression that you said, I'm going to go camping for a week to clear my head, just to take a step back from the insanity that was going on, Francis. And to your credit, you've communicated this beautifully. I'm really proud of you for how you're handling this. And then it seems like she took that as an opportunity to be like, oh, yeah, well, we could do that together. And then again, as she got close, she sabotaged it again by saying something like, oh, well, if you want to go there with someone else, I'd be blocking you, right? It's like, girl, are you into this guy or not? And sorry, like obviously she's into you. I don't doubt that. But she's acting as if she's not. And I think it's largely because she's sabotaging herself left, right, and center. And probably feeling really shitty about it as well, too, because she does like you. And I think she's feeling quite a lot of shame around this. Next paragraph. When we got back, I talked to her. I put myself in the same vulnerable position she was when she came to my home to ask her how I felt. But instead of giving me an honest answer, oh, are we gonna get the dismissiveness to come out? Let's just see what happens. She gave me the most vague response possible. And the next morning, she said she felt pressured and didn't think it was a good idea for us to spend the day together. At that point, I'd hit my limit. Jesus, you're great at this, Francis. I'm impressed with how you're handling this. The confusion, the mixed signals, it was too much. I told her I needed to see her and set a boundary, maybe even end things for good. Well done. And when I did, she was devastated. She told me she wanted to put her foot down and ask me not to leave. Then she needed more time to process all this. She said everything was moving too fast, but she understood. At her home, we had a real conversation about love. I told her what she had once told me, that falling in love is like handing your heart to someone and that people can do anything with it. I told her I hadn't given her my entire heart, but a piece of it was there. She told me the same. She also told me something her therapist had once warned her about, that in a past relationship, she was deeply in love with the mindfuck guy, and if the guy reciprocated, she would flee. She admitted that when it happened and cried about it for 2 days, that she was really scared that she would end up alone, that she needed to be the most independent woman ever, that she wanted to give her heart to somebody but didn't know how, and that she knew that I would take very good care of her heart. And then, after all the tears, all the admissions of fear, all the vulnerability, she told me that she had the availability and the will to be with other people at the same level and priority as me, and didn't even need to tell me that. I asked her how that could possibly be, after everything we had just shared and all that we were showing between us. I asked her if she was giving a piece of her heart to multiple people to see if she was polyamorous. And that's how I assumed she might be. And she answered, no, I'm not giving my heart to anybody. This was very confusing. The conversation ended up with her called up in a ball on my lap, crying. I should have set my boundary right there and then, but instead I comforted her. Yes, good insight. Yes, yes, yes. I know why you comforted her, and a lot of people would do the same thing too, but you're bang on accurate. She told me a story that in November she was really bad, like mentally and physically, but she couldn't ask for love or for care from anybody. So she calls her ex-boyfriend, like an old ex-boyfriend, to just get the car and go for a few rounds around the block with her to distract her. That was the most that she could ask for help. He said yes, but he didn't appear that day. He forgot. Apparently he forgot that they're both exes. So she cried for 2 days and told herself that she wouldn't trust and depend on anybody ever again. Okay. There's a lot here. And Francis, I have to say, once again, can I just congratulate you? I'm really, really, really impressed with the way you were realizing, no, this is done. Like, I'm not putting up with this behavior. Now, I know you've sort of kept in it for a few more rounds, but based on what you've shared, it sounds to me like you're someone who's probably been around this roller coaster ride before. You're no stranger to having avoidant style relationships. So I'm really impressed with the way you've been communicating your way through this. Like, seriously, fucking phenomenal job. I'm really impressed with how you've navigated this. I'm gonna go like to the bottom of this paragraph and work my way up. Starting with when she curled up in a little ball and was being comforted by you. I know why you did it. I think there was a bit of fawning going on there as well too. And to be fair, that's a difficult situation to be in because it's very emotionally loaded. She's come at you with these big confessions about her past, how she shares her heart. She's then shut down on that, saying, "Well, I need to be the most independent woman ever, and I can't give my heart to anyone." And you assumed maybe she's poly, but no, she turned that down, and it became very much a case of, "No, I just don't give my heart to anyone." I think you've really been witnessing two major sides of her. The little girl who desperately wants love, but is ultra scared to allow herself to just be with you. That girl who's running the show is likely a very arrested 5-year-old part of her. And the fact that she's curled up like a little ball, I think really speaks to the amount of trauma that she's probably experienced. Like, if anything, it makes me think, when someone's in a fetal position like that and maybe rocking, it's usually a very self-regulating way of navigating a lot of distress that we're undergoing. And it makes me think I wouldn't be surprised if she's been fetal, throughout many of her relationships in the past where she's been made to put up with some terrible stuff. That sentence alone describing how she was curled up in a little ball speaks volumes to her history and makes me think she's gone through some terrible stuff. However, that is not your responsibility to work on. And it's interesting how her therapist has pointed out that she tends to, even with the mindfuck guy, I wonder if she's projecting and calling him a mindfuck when she was the one who was behaving in a very ambivalent way with him. I mean, he could be avoidant, but it seems to me like what we know from the evidence is that when he confessed feelings for her, she pulled away. So, yeah, to me, the therapist has made a very clear point that's like, hey, you have this behavior. And also, what's really interesting too is the fact that she's admitted to wanting to be the most independent person ever, probably to get away from feeling so vulnerable. Like, it seems to me like she's suffered big abandonment when people weren't there for her and didn't show up for her. And it causes her to have huge emotional reactions to it. Like having her ex-partner not show up for her when she wanted him for some menial thing, like driving her around. And the fact that she was sobbing for 2 days about that, like, with all due respect, that's a ridiculous reaction. Meaning that on one hand, I can understand why she would do that, and I would validate her if she'd gone through that, because on one hand, it's not really about the ex not showing up. Like, that in and of itself is ridiculous. It's clearly speaking to the volume of trauma that she has around abandonment and betrayal and not getting her needs met. And anytime she feels that feeling, she obviously doubles down on this, I'm going to be Little Miss Independent. And I think that, and I want to make it very clear when I said that was ridiculous. I'm not saying that it's ridiculous for anyone to feel abandoned and betrayed and to cry about it. But the context for this is, if we look at it purely from a logical standpoint, it seems like she was actually being quite selfish and wanted this guy to drive her around who's an ex. It's like, no, actually, you don't get to have your ex just be at your beck and call. That's not how this works. I can understand her reaction. I really get it and can say, like, okay, I know where that's coming from, but she's clearly got very distorted childlike thinking around exes just being available for her. It's like, no, honey, that's not how this works. So, yeah, to me, huge arrested development here. I actually feel sorry for her. Like, not to the point where I want to come in and sweep her off her feet and help her, but I can really feel the amount of trauma that she's gone through, and she needs a lot of hand-holding and support. And I think too, the fact that you set that boundary around not wanting to continue this if it was going to be more of the same, I think really speaks to to the fact that you definitely, sorry, her reaction to it, I think, speaks to the fact that she felt threatened and she felt like you were going to abandon her. And so she doubled down on being like, oh my God, no, don't leave me. And she had like this huge fear of abandonment moment, which I get. But to me, she's reacted to that with like these big trauma dumps of information. She hasn't processed it and gone, hey, you know what? That's actually really, that's reasonable. Let me reflect on how my behavior has actually contributed to you needing to have that boundary in the first place. So to me, when I read this, I just sort of think she's not good with boundaries. And the fact of the matter is, she doesn't like that boundary at all. And I reckon if you were to assert it again, she'd get quite angry and furious and indignant around it. So let's see where this goes, because this is fascinating. We saw each other two more times after that. The first time I told her that this wasn't working for me. Francis, I gotta give you credit where it's due again. So impressed that you just are calling it as it is very early on. You're clearly someone who's either had a secure-ish background or you've been around the hood, you've had therapy. Like, props to you. I'm really impressed with how you're asserting yourself. I told her this wasn't working for me. Again, she was really sad. I told her I could try, but I didn't understand her wanting to be with other people at the same level as me. Fair enough. Um, at this point in time, I understand non-monogamy, but she wasn't giving me a clear answer as to where she stood on monogamy, polyamory, or anything in between. She told me she wasn't going to offer me more availability and she was going to hurt me. The last time we saw each other, I told her plainly, I didn't change the path we were on. I didn't get confused. You did. Fuck me. I'm just, like, I want to use you as like the gold standard for how to talk to people like this. Just yes, direct, yes, very confrontational, but I love it. Just yes. Fuck, I'm so proud of you. Um, I hope people also get excited by Francis's behavior because he's modeling this like a champ. Um, he continues, I didn't get confused, you did, and your confusion is hurting me. I can't do this anymore. She admitted it. She told me she knew her confusion was preventing us from living something beautiful and that she wouldn't be crying like this for someone she'd only dated for a month. Good. Especially if she didn't feel something real, that there was a lot between us and that there were other things that happened to her while we were together that went beyond us. I told her I could be by her side while she worked through her confusion. Okay, that's a point where I'm going to say, that's your fawning. You definitely need to work on that, Francis. She told me what I was offering, the kind of love, was something nobody had ever given her in a long, long time, and she didn't know how she would react. When we met, she told me she taught I really wanted to organize my messy head to welcome this boy, but I couldn't do it. She said she needed to go through quote unquote things alone, but she wanted to keep trying with me, and she wanted to see where this could lead. I told her I understood, but this half-measured situation would not work for me, and also told her that if she ever wanted to try again, it would be at her own risk. The door wasn't shut. That seemed to bring her relief, telling me I believed she could get out of this mess, that she could totally see us reaching out in a month. And then as we said goodbye, she suddenly pulled me in and kissed me deeply. Once again, mixed signals. Once again, confusion. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I really don't have much to say to that paragraph other than to say she clearly doesn't like your boundaries. She obviously doesn't, understand how to navigate these huge feelings inside of her. Again, I feel sorry for her. Like, I have a lot of people who lean fearful avoidant one way or another, and they listen to stories like this too. And a lot of them are doing a lot of fabulous work on themselves, and I think they're fantastic. This amount of trauma in someone, I don't care where you lean, the way she's handling it is negligent. She's acting like a baby, and she needs to grow up, and she's not behaving well on this. I will give her credit. She actually hasn't come out with the dismissive tendencies that I thought she was going to come out with yet. But maybe the last paragraph will reveal that for me. But so far, I feel like she's definitely on the less severe end of the spectrum, but she's still got so much raging arrested development going on. But I gotta say, before we wrap up and read this last paragraph, what a fabulous letter. Like just the way you've modeled secure behavior. Yeah, I know there's some stuff that you need to work on, but just the way you've modeled this, chef kiss. After a month, as I'd agreed, I contacted her saying, let's talk, because there were things left unsaid on my part. And when we met, I felt she was super distant and already very detached. I said I felt, but oh God, I'm proud of you. Like every time I read the way you talk, I'm just like, oh, just so fucking good. I know you might have these fawning moments, but just, oh, the way you just deliver and land these things, like say, I feel betrayed, like, fuck yes. Oh, you're the star of the show. I mean, every letter writer is, but like, just, so good. I said I felt betrayed by how she'd come on to me at the beginning and all the signs she gave, and how she made it feel like what we had was rare and special to then retreat. Then I felt there was another person, and she said yes. She's seen two people now, one she met during New Year's, and her also, quote, her mindfuck ex that had come back on strong to her as he moved back to the city, and she'd closed off from everything when he did. She said she thought she was going to jump back with me. She truly fell in love with me, but she just quote unquote disconnected and asked me what she should do after disconnecting. And she then added, don't ask for more time. She felt really, okay, here's the dismissiveness. She felt really dismissive and downplayed things. And I told her I felt there was a lot of sabotage and fear on her side. And she said there was nothing to do with that denial. She just stopped feeling and that she doesn't want this monogamous thing of losing herself with someone else, um, like I did, and that she didn't function with this level of certainty. Okay, now the dismissive leaning, fearful avoidant has officially landed. Okay, she's actually more severe than I thought she was. And man, this goes back to some things that we saw when, you were spending time apart. She's obviously gone back to having some people to make her feel better about herself because of the separation anxiety. She's shut down out. I also want to make a note here. Some people think that fearful avoidance will shut down due to closeness and intimacy. That's true, but there's also another condition that can cause them to shut down, and that's catastrophizing over whether or not you'll still be there for them. So let's say you guys do long distance. If their anxiety gets to a peak where they freak out at the idea of you seeing someone else, the avoidance side will come in and shut it down and tell them, maybe you're just not that into this person, anyways, if you're feeling this way. And it will remove their feelings temporarily. And then they'll go off to date multiple people in order to self-soothe. So that can happen as well too. So it seems like this has definitely been an example of this. Oh man, and I can already read the next sentence, and it's again very secure of you. I'm just so fucking proud of how direct you are. But yeah, she's denied, gaslit, and also downplayed her behavior. And I'm so fucking proud of you. I don't even know if you're aware of avoidant attachment, Francis. Like, I don't know if you've ever used this language, you've ever understood this, but I'm so freaking impressed with just how you've navigated this thing in such a short time, which is not to say obviously you aren't devastated by this. I'm sure you might be, but man, you just communicate really well. Minimal fawning from you. Anyways, I replied telling her that this was bullshit because when she asked me for reassurance and safety, and also that this was stuff that she needed, but when I asked for but when I asked her, she said, I don't work with certainties. She told me she was already disconnected by then, so she would be lying if she gave me any. Um, wait, she'd be lying if she gave me any certainty. Then I asked why she kept giving me indirect validation throughout, and she told me she only asked that before she asked how I felt, which is not true at all, to the point of her asking me not to quote unquote give up on her and keep seeing her next year as she went into the holidays. I told her I felt she couldn't endure being vulnerable and in love with me, and she replied, yeah, I couldn't. There you go. And then, how is this not fear? When I pointed she was behaving like a boy, love bombing and trauma dumping me, she said, quote unquote, if you need this to be your narrative to suit yourself, um, wow, that is dismissive as fuck. She's definitely severely fearful avoidant and dismissive leaning. Wow, 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 wow. And when I finally told her I didn't think she operated from a place of emotional intelligence and that she was a fearful avoidant, what? Oh, you do know that language. Well done. She cried strongly, got really, really mad, and told me I was disrespecting her. She's also a therapist. Oh my God. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Oh, the truth bombs come out in the last paragraph. Wow. Wow. Good fucking on you. Wow. Wow. Francis, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, let's just call it as it is. Let's call a spade a spade. She is a fearful avoidant, dismissive leaning. I love how, when you said that, I'm not trying to take Schadenfreude. I'm not trying to take pleasure in this person's suffering. But I have to say, I reacted with delight hearing how she shut down, or sorry, not shut down. She got immensely triggered when you called her out as a fearful avoidant because she clearly knows that, and it's a source of shame for her. And the fact that she started crying around that and started like collapsing shows she did not feel good with that. Now, there are many clinicians in the field who do have an avoidant attachment style. Some of them are fantastic, others need a lot of work on themselves. We're all a work in progress in this department. But I love that you didn't pedestal her based on what I'm reading because she was a therapist. You called her out on her bullshit. And I love the fact that you even said you're behaving like a boy. Yes. This stuff I know isn't gendered, but has traditionally been a very gendered behavioral pattern in that, like I've said many times, men are the ones who are usually, or actually, sorry, let me change the word. Boys in dating have usually been the ones who have been traditionally associated with this very avoidant behavior. But as we know, it's not gendered. But still, oh, just yes to how you've handled this. Um, so anyway, she said that you were disrespecting her. No, you weren't. No, you weren't disrespecting her. She just couldn't fucking handle the truth. Um, And she was going on saying she knew about her attachment style. I told her there was a huge dissonance from everything she showed me. The frightened little girl inside of her that hides behind huge walls of quote unquote hyper independence that I witnessed. And also going back to the guy who she calls a quote unquote mindfuck and how and they don't really see her, who shattered her mind and heart. She stared at the nothing, looking very, very sad. And I told her I never wanted to talk and see her again, and I left. Yeah, good on you. So I was gonna say, probably sounds a little bit full on, but I think that you've made a very clear boundary. You're just like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Good on you. I feel like she used me to regulate herself. Yes, she did. She wanted security until she got it. She constantly asked me for reassurance, but later dismissed my need for the same. Every moment of deep connection was followed by cold attachment, a push-pull dynamic. She rewrote history to protect herself. She denied fear and sabotage despite previously admitting she couldn't endure vulnerability and that her confusion was preventing something beautiful. She trauma dumped on me, sought reassurance, and let herself be seen until she realized she wasn't ready for what she thought she wanted. She ran away because I saw her. Francis. Oh my loving God. I am so impressed with how you handled this. Gold fucking standard for how you navigated this shit fuckery. Like, oh my God. I'm just beyond impressed. I came into this letter reading, as I've told some of my clients this week, as my first week back on holidays, a bit slothy and a bit like, oh, here we go. I would prefer to have another 2 weeks off. I have just come alive off the back of reading this. Oh my God. Just yes to everything you did. I really am so fucking proud of you. Yes, there's some fawning stuff that you might want to look into. Yes, you may be hurt off the back of this. Yes, there may have been a part of you that was very indignant and was just like, fuck this, I never want to see you again. And it was maybe coming from a little bit of an overly aggressive place. But in saying that, you were just like handling this like a fucking champion. I'm just so proud of you. Again, I feel sorry for your ex. She's clearly got a lot of arrested development. You could see it. You used language like a champion to describe it. You clearly know about this stuff. Just, oh, I want to find a way if there's a way that I can point to and be like, gentlemen, this is how to handle it. I feel like I could learn from you in terms of how direct you've been. Like, just, oh my God, like, just, I'm envious of how direct you are with your communication. This was just like, so fucking impressive. I wonder if there's a way that I can. I mean, I kind of want to share this with some of my team members to be like, this is just like the bar. The bar has been set very high. And also, what a great letter for dismantling gendered sort of behavior. It's men who usually aren't good at communicating. It's women who are usually much better at the emotional intelligence side of things as well, too. This was a clear sign that once again, none of this is gendered. And what an impressive display of emotional intelligence and communication from your side of things, and handling this very quickly and just being like, no. And also how her behavior, which is traditionally, seen as boyish behavior, came from a person who I believe is definitely identifying as a woman and is also a woman. So, yeah, that got me lit up. Like, just I can't say enough good stuff about this. This was fucking amazing. I hope that people listening to this also just cheer the fuck out of you because I'm certainly doing that for you right now because I'm just like, damn, I want to be like Francis. I want to lay it down, like just be like, this is how it is. This is disrespectful. This behavior of hot and cold, reassurance seeking, then self-sabotaging out of fear that you couldn't be ready for this. Oh, the language, the competency, the directness is just A plus plus. Love it. All right. Thank you very much for entertaining me with what was a fabulous letter. Oh God, I hope we have, seriously, I hope we end up getting more men like you and women and non-binary folk. Like seriously, just I don't need to repeat myself. It was amazing. Anyone listening, the letter readings are still going strong until July because that's the when the latest submissions. Sorry, the last submission I've received is for a reading in mid to late July. If you're interested in submitting letters, I'm probably going to open up the submissions again, sort of down the line. Every now and then, someone might come in and be like, "Hey, can I have a letter reading?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we'll negotiate and we'll see how it works." But yeah, I hope we're nearing 100 episodes. In fact, by I reckon July we'll be up to 100, which is exciting. So yeah, thank you again for everyone submitting these. I just have to say, like, these letters may be repetitive every now and then for good reason, but every now and then you'll get something like this where it's just like, oh, impressive, so impressive.